morning, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. In my first presentation to you, I put in a lot of information to give you a real flavor of my energy level and everything I hope to accomplish in this life. And I had to leave out the one story that I feel would really sum up everything I would want to tell you about myself and everything I truly believe in. And that is the ability to embrace your own opportunities at the same time you celebrate others. It was a hard story for me, I'm not sure why. Thank you, Barry, for setting it up. I've only told, I think, 3 people this story, 5 if you count my parents who were there at the time. My mother was simply speechless and my dad was just aghast. I just ask that you listen all the way to the end. I told you before, I started school early in Colorado. My parents said, you can't control this girl, let's get her in school. They were right. By the time I was in high school, I took the hardest classes I could with the hardest professors that I could. And that included Dr. Gorse as a junior, college prep composition. He required a 20-page research paper after you've read a classic literature novel. I chose a British literature, very boring. But he said that there is not a college that would accept research performed at a high school library. For my class, you need to get to CU Boulder. I've made arrangements. You need to get yourself there. If you have a problem with that, drop my class. I was up for the challenge. So two or three times a week, I would drive to Boulder, Colorado, which was about a 30 to 45-minute drive for me. And every time I was there, I made sure to leave at least 30 to 60 minutes to be looking for a college scholarship. My parents had promised to continue their fiduciary role and get me through college, but I knew that would be very hard on them. So I searched. My hard work paid off. As a senior at 17, I was contacted by Denver University. I was one of 3 candidates for a $30,000 scholarship to study teaching. That would have paid for just over 3 years then, probably 3 and a quarter, 3.5 years, almost full. It was so exciting. I was so psyched, and especially because Denver University was where you would look to study law. There was no service requirement with this scholarship. I looked because I was interested in law. I was so excited, especially when I drove onto this campus. It was like a whole nother world to me. And even the building where my interview would take place, it was in this old, must have been a stone church. It even had this turret, I'm not kidding. And I'm climbing my way up to the highest room in this tower. It was like I was walking into my own personal fairy tale. But I'm not the damsel in distress. I'm climbing to my victory. Oh, it was beautiful. And I remember walking into the waiting room, and there's this boy who would interview after me. He was so early for his interview, he's early for mine. And I was so thankful I didn't have to shake his hand because he's swiping his hands just over and over. He's so nervous. And as the girl exits the interview room, she had interviewed before me, she looked so confident until she turned to me. I give her this look. I thought she would throw up right on her shoes. So if you remember, I was an intense athlete, trained to size up and intimidate my competition. I was so confident. And I was. I know I sound a bit cocky, but I will tell you that I've never gotten to the interview or an offer or the tryout stage and not received an offer. So even then, I was very confident in what I could do that day. This scholarship is mine. And I go in. I'm not intimidated by my interviewers. I was a catcher. I was used to working with adults. I'm going to manage that umpire just like I'm working my team. So they start with the small talk just to loosen me up, get me ready, till the hard questions start. And you get to the inevitable question, why do you want to be a teacher? And I was so ready for that question, armed with what I knew they would want to hear. Who would not have prepared for that question? But all I can picture is Mr. Sweaty Hands, who is so, he wants this so bad, he's probably just a puddle on the floor by now. And Miss Puke. She came out with this confident, lovely air, and a warm, bubbly personality that was meant to share with young kids. All I could picture was them, and I changed my answer. I told them, you know, I don't really think I want to be a teacher. If either one of them knows that this is what they want, you need to give it to them. And I picked up my things and I left. Can you imagine what my parents thought? My mother was speechless and my dad just aghast. But I told them I couldn't take it. I just could not take it from them. Not if I didn't really want it. I need to figure out a different way. And this is the piece that I hope you listen to. This is the takeaway part of my story. 2 months later, I'm playing softball, intense athlete. I'm in Phoenix. My mother called the hotel where I was staying and said, the school that you selected called, and you forgot to complete the essay for your scholarship application. Well, yes, that makes sense, because I didn't send a scholarship application to that school. Well, it doesn't matter. They found you. They want to give you a full ride scholarship, write an essay. I had to send a handwritten essay on the wholesale stationery, and I got a full ride scholarship. I could choose whatever major I wanted. It was a wonderful school for me, catering to businessmen and women that were older, and all they wanted to do was learn just like me. That is where I learned that you can be true to who you are in everything you hope to accomplish, and it does not have to be at the expense of others. You can make your own choices that you are responsible for, that you can manage. Commit to yourself and to those around you by being who you are, the best of who you are, the person you are always meant to be. Choose well, commit fully, be who you are.